As always, guys, today we have the Gwent Balance Council for November 2025. We have the top tier changes, ones I think are really great that are exciting, things I like, just things I'm excited to try out, or I think will have a really good impact on the game. Good changes, overall good, probably just things I like to see. Maybe not as high impact as top tier, or things I'm not as excited about. Neutral, I don't care one way or the other, either because I don't think it'll do anything, or because I am undecided. Questionable, I don't think they'll be good, but I'm open to it. I think that there's a chance it'll work out okay, but I'm a little bit questioning if it's good or not. Leaning towards probably not. Batters, bad changes that are bad. And then we've got constant. These are the things that keep flip-flopping around. And yeah, just don't want to talk about them too much because it is a lot of repeated stuff. Beginning with the power increases this time, we'll have Combi going from 4 to 5. I do like this. I think Combi's an interesting card. And as a finisher with like a Compass deck or something, it's a little small. Like when you play it, you need to play it while the opponent's a card left. And 4 points is often not enough to win while discarding their card. So I like to see a little power buff. Maybe actually get you some use in some decks. There are some decks that play like multiple combis because you bring back Fukusha, which is kind of fun, but overall not that strong. Glad to see getting a little buff here. Master Mirror. Love Master Mirror. One of my favorite cards in the game for fun. Not necessarily because it's competitive, but at 7 power, you really need Master Mirror to stick around to give you a couple extra gold cards to like approach his value, because the gold cards he gives you are not often good. Usually the bronzes in your deck are worth a decent amount. So like to see this guy get some changes, some buff, and hopefully we can make some decks with him, because this is really exciting to try out. Sheetroll, I like Sheetroll. I'll put that on top tier. Sheetroll decks with the, what's the lizard guys? I can't think of him right now. The Vrand, it's something with the VR, Vrand Warrior, something like that. You know the decks like Ruin and stuff where they do big combos, destroy a bunch. Vrand Warrior, that's what it is. Those decks destroy a bunch of their own guys, and then Sheetroll gets really big. Interesting, fun Death Wish deck that's alternative to just the Point Slam Death Wish. So glad to see that getting a little bit of help, because I want that to be more competitive and a little bit more of a match for the other ones. Tourney Shamlar is a good change, I think. Tourney Shamlar is a card that doesn't get played too much unless, ironically, you're in a tournament. No, everyone's going to play Nilfgaard. But for the most part, a little bit lackluster. 6 is much more stomachable than 7 in an Assimilate deck if you want to try and pay this guy off. So glad to see that. I think it makes a lot of sense. And then the upside of hitting opponent's Nilfgaard, if the opponent's Nilfgaard hitting that 7 damage is really nice, but that doesn't happen very much. And even when it doesn't feel impactful that often. So like this one. Messenger of the Seas going back to 4. Put this at good. This was a nerf. This going to 3 was a really big nerf, because if you put out 2 rain duration, which is a leader charge or an order, it means it went to 5 and died to bronze removal. So this was a huge nerf, and I didn't see a single Rage of the Sea deck last season. The reason it's got nerfed is because people are sick and tired of the Ren-free Beast deck, but, you know, apparently there's no card in that deck, the Ren-free Beast deck, that you can nerf that doesn't affect the regular Rain deck. There's like no card that they don't share. There's no obvious target to maybe nerf the deck with. That's a lot of sarcasm, by the way. I'm sure you can think of the card I'm thinking of. But yeah, overall, though, glad to see this going back. Rain is bad for the most part. Ren-free Rain's good, but you can't really play the non-Ren-free versions with this at 5. Or 3 going to 5. So it was too slow tempo. Heavy Protector. I'm really excited about this one. I'll put this one top tier. He's 5 for 5 now. Which he, for the longest time, couldn't be buffed because people are spamming the armor abuse deck. And I want to try stuff with him because he was a card I used to play when he first came out and a little time after, when 4 for 4 wasn't too bad on an engine like him. That is pretty conditional. So I want to see this. I want to test him out, see if he has some uses today, and have some fun with him. On Crate Warriors. Ooh, this is going between these two. Going from 4 to 5, which means it's Veteran. In round 3, it's 7 with 2 damage, which is 9 for 5 with damage. I don't like this. I'm debating if I put it in here. Let's put it here. I don't like this change. I don't think it's good. If you're playing, yeah, it's just such a big card. So it's a buff to Raid Warriors. It's a buff to Pirates. So not a fan of this. I think even if you're playing this in round 1, it's 7 for 5. Although it is a 2 damage order, but often you'll get the Zeal off, so I don't like this. Kind of the same boat here for Giant Toad, but I'm going to put Giant Toad in constant because it goes back and forth occasionally. But yeah, Giant Toad at 3. Giant Toad at 4 just means all the Death Wish decks with Golden Necker, with Tome, all those things just love this, because Toad is an 8-point card with 4 of it being carryover at 4 power, right? Because it comes back and consumes. So it comes back with an upside that consumes, which can trigger Death Wish things without needing a leader charge, and it's 8 points total. So I do not like this change. I think 3 was fine. At 3 I was a little unsure about it, but tested it out, it seemed okay. So I don't like this, but it's going back. And where is... Oh, we don't have the terrible tier. Well, if we had a terrible tier, Slave Infantry is going on. It's just like the Seagull to 2 power type of thing. There's now an 11 for 4 on deploy that can be replayed via like Slave Driver and stuff. A massive buff to Renfrey in particular because of the Mage Assassins. The regular soldier decks don't typically run Mage Assassins that much, but Renfrey does with like Mage Assassins and stuff like that. So this is huge. Just a huge buff to all of Nilfgaard. Nilfgaard's going to be like, when you give a faction an 11 for 4 bronze, because it's 11 for 4 if you hit a 1 power guy, but whenever you give a faction 11 for 4 bronze, they tend to just dominate for a little bit, so we'll see how that goes, especially if they can repeat it like this one. Last power buff is Archospore. We'll see about this one. Archospore only gets played in V, however you want to pronounce it, because you can't play it with Brewis Ritual decks, because you don't want to pull it out. The downside playing out 2 is really bad. Downside playing out 1's bad if 1's in your hand. So you can't really play it in that deck, which means the only Death Wish deck that plays it is V. But maybe with 5 power, it can be incentivized to run it in something else, like a mixture, maybe a mixture of Death Wish and Arachaswarm, which we might try out, something like that. So maybe a non-verse ritual deck. We'll see. Power decrease is Zoltan Warrior. I'm going to say this is probably good. Zoltan Warrior is an incredibly high tempo card with entry potential. You play this, it does 3 damage twice if you hit something, and you spawn the guys. That is 13 value with 1 point a turn ticking from him. Really good, and it spawns extra bodies, so the points aren't all targeted. Some of the points are damage, which you can use to kill stuff you don't want the dwarves. Just played in Renfrey Precision Strike, played in Dwarves Precision Strike, played in regular Dwarves. Just sees a lot of play because of this very good. So this also makes it easier to remove if you're not playing Mahakam Forge, because Mahakam Forge, it comes down with the extra armor. Because usually what they play in the other decks is they'll armor it up with a chariot when they play it, the Precision Strike ones. And then it's at, it'll be 3 with 1 armor. In Mahakam Forge, you'll have 2 armor in that case, but also it's the 1 baseline. So I think it's probably a fine nerf. Same thing goes for Mastermind. Very deadly card. You can lose the power. It's not a big nerf. It's fine, I think. Kimbolt, I'm a little bit neutral on. Kimbolt, an incredibly powerful card. It's like a 2-in-1 engine. It's usually worth like, you pull out an engine, so like 7 or 8 points each time you use it. And you play it and use an engine order to pull out 2, so you get like multiple engines out in 1 turn. Very powerful card. I've been saying for a long time that Kimbolt's very good. One of our most popular Northern Realms decks ever was a couple years ago, just Kimbolt Siege, and Kimbolt's incredible. But I personally haven't played against the decks that use Kimbolt very much, so I haven't seen it myself, which is I just don't know how strong it is in the current meta. It could be really strong, understandable if that's why I got nerfed, but I personally didn't play against those decks that much. It's just a bias, so I don't know. I can see it though. I can see it. I just don't have a strong feeling. Ivar Evil Eye, we're throwing down bad. Why we keep buffing this card? This is 1 power from its power decrease, which means your opponent gets less points when you swap. This is just becoming closer and closer to just destroy the opponent's unit, but it can't get any lower. So this is a bit weird. It's just buffing it as a mid-range card and nerfing it for Toussaint Knights, which is really weird and like the opposite of where I'd like this card to be. I say nerfing it for Toussaint Knights because it's clearly probably going to go 12 provisions next Balance Council to compensate for this. Just like when it went down in power before, went from 10 to 11. It's probably going to happen again. So, yeah, this is just helping this be a mid-range card in all of Nilfgaard, which comboed with this means we're going to see a lot of these two in Renfrey decks this season. So hopefully you're ready for that. And yeah, I don't like this change. I didn't like it when it went to 2 power. I don't like it when it did 3 power either, to be honest. It's okay, but yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of just making big swingy mid-range cards like this more ubiquitous across a faction. In Knights, it makes sense because that's like their thing. But when you make this down to 1, the downside is so low that everything's just going to end up playing it, right? If you hit a 6 with this, now you get an 11-point play. Whereas before, if you hit a 6 with this, and it was like 2 or 3 powers, like, really small play. So it also nerfs it in the Adrenaline mode, which isn't too big of a deal. But yeah, this is a card I feel like should be built around, not to just swing random games, because if your opponent just happens to have an 8-point card, which isn't that uncommon, it's going to play for 15 points. So, yeah, not a fan. Riptide to 8. Riptide's always getting changed here. I believe this nerf down to 8 is an attempt for it to settle at 9 for 9. If that works, fantastic. I think 9's probably about right. And 9 is still a good card. So hopefully that's what ends up happening here. We'll just have to see. Dandelion getting nerf's probably good. Dandelion is one of those cards, if it just sticks, it's so much value. But it's also, like, nerfing this is weird because you want it to be in Golden Necker range. That's the only deck that really, not the only deck. Golden Necker and just pure Engine Shield Wall plays it. But it always comes down to Shield Wall charge, right? Or a Crystal Skull. So nerfing it down to like 5, it's still outside of Bronze removal range. So I'm not too sure. I think it's just a tempo nerf on setting up a powerful engine like this, which is fine. A Fawn going back from 5 to 4 is probably good. A Fawn really abused a lot of soldier decks this season. A card that comes out of your deck like Roach, like Winter Queen, at 5 power was the highest we have. Tied with old Radovid Judgment. So that's was very, very strong. Like, I think it was overbuffed. And then it has the order. It usually gives like 4 or 6 points on your card. So very strong in soldiers. I understand this one going back. I think that makes sense. This is going to go to 1 eventually because people are afraid to nerf other stuff, which is, I get it. So just don't draw this. It's even, if you ever have to play this, it's terrible now. Scribe going back to 4, you know, Scribe at 5 was a very powerful engine, but then again, like, Firesworn without this didn't do anything. And what I was worried about was other decks like Crimes or something just swallowing up this card and just spamming it like a Fallen Knight did. But that didn't happen. What just happened is Lonely Champion and Firesworn became one of the best decks, which is interesting. At least in my opponents at the highest MMR are playing it. So that's interesting. I get it, but then again, it was what made Firesworn viable for a patch. I don't know. I think maybe this can be 5 for 5. Then you nerf something Hemelfart, like Cyrus. It's incredibly strong. Make it harder to get Cyrus off of something. I don't know. Maybe Helvide. Something in combination with this might make more sense. But yeah, I can understand it. It was very powerful at 5. Very, very good. And it can be duplicated with Igor and Cyrus and the second Cyrus. So I get it. Yeah. I'm not too sure, though. I liked having Firesworn be at least somewhat playable. Next up, we have Deranged Corsair. Yeah, 2 is more sense than 3 because this thing plays for like 12 points. Invigorate. I don't like buffing leaders. I like buffing leaders. These are our provision increases. Let's take up a nerf slot to buff the leader. This isn't the worst one to buff because it only affects hand buff. Hand buff's bad. You can just play engines, though, and Invigorate with this 18 provisions now, and just buff them with this to try using it. I think we'll test that this season, so I don't like it. This is bad, though. Like, Jackpot is, what is it, 16 now in Jackpot? Jackpot's probably the strongest Syndicate leader just because of what it does. It lets you turn extra coins into points. It has some incredibly strong synergies. I have no idea why I keep buffing this one. It's the simplest one to use, so it's not that interesting. Yeah, I don't like this. Temple, still probably the strongest card in the game, but people couldn't. 16, 17, we'll see. This is going to keep going up forever because people don't like the armor abuse deck, and that's the only thing this will ever be used in, so okay. Mutagenerator. I think I have to put Mutagenerator down here. No, I'm putting it up here. Mutagenerator double Roach was the best one of the Realms deck last season, I believe. And Mutagenerator is insane. So, it's so much carryover. And if it's not carryover, you play this, and then you like Roach, and then you go boom, 2 5s, bunch of points. Yeah, so between these two. I think I'll put this in good. Yeah, I'll leave this here. Mutagenerator is just incredibly strong. Joachim going up a provision. I don't know too much about. I don't have a strong feeling on this. It's a really good tempo card. But, yeah, not too strong of an opinion on that. And then, oh, you are not supposed to be in here, Hammond. You're supposed to be over here somewhere. I think I caught that. Highland Warlord keeps going back and forth. I believe this is the same attempt as Lord Riptide to over-nerf it 1, so it settles at the other one. It's like over nerf this to 8, so it goes back to 9, hopefully. Nerf this to 7, hopefully it goes back to 6 and stays at 6. I think it should be 6 for visions. Hopefully that's what happens. Don't like having this be weak for a patch, but extra weak for a patch. But hopefully it stays at 6, I guess. More Stalker. Stalker and Warrior putting in neutral. These are both 2 steps to try and get this to 4. And this to 4. It's going to have to couple with a nerf to Hive Mind probably. Which is fine. Hive Mind's insane. So we'll see. I won't make a final judgment on these until it goes through the 2 parts. Vernaroche. Back to 10. No more Blue Dreams. Swap these. I don't think this is impactful, this one. This is just, like I said, Muta Generator, Double Roche. Probably strongest Store of the Realms deck. Not fun to play against. They just spam engines, do this into Blue Dream, and the Revenant kills it, so they Blue Dream it, and boom. All of a sudden, in 2 turns, they've got 4 engines on board, and that's really hard to deal with. And it is very much, I don't think, how the game's supposed to be going with Northern Realms like that. Like, it should be that easy to throw all these guys for really high points and such. Alright, provision decreases. There should be 10 of these, unless I mess something up. Nope, there are 10. Half-Elf Hunter. I love this one. Half-Elf Hunter has some very good synergies. It works in Harmony. It works in the Deadeye Ambush deck, which is nice. It can work in the mid-range deck with Devotion because it serves as a potential engine because you do play a couple different types in there. Widely useful card. Won't be too strong. Will be a lot better with interesting uses. So very happy to see that. Maruna to 8. Really like this one as well. A Deathwish card that kind of got left behind. As things get power buffed out of 4, it becomes much harder for Maruna to find value. So she's not that good anymore, right? Because say your typical card she sees is 4, is probably now a 5 if it was a weaker engine. So I like to see this. And even when she did seize stuff before, you almost always have to couple this with the leader charge. So it's a pretty high investment to seize. So she should be a bit cheaper, I agree. Sesame's going down here. Sesame feels incredibly strong at 5. I see a lot of it this season. And it feels a bit weak at 6, so I don't know what's going to end up with this. Blind Fury is an interesting one. I personally really like Blind Fury, but this is doing, 10 damage for 9? It's kind of random, though, so if you want to hit exactly 1 target, often you're wasting damage. If you're hitting 2 targets, it's fairly common that it won't kill the one you want it to kill. So I think this is fine going to 9. It's an interesting alternative to removal in Golden Necker in particular, because you'd run Baron before. You could try running this. We'll test that out. I'll say this isn't good. I'm a little worried it's too strong, but no one plays it, so I think it'll be okay. Priscilla, probably good, but probably won't get much play. Still, I think she'd probably have to be even cheaper. We'll see. Sigvald, nope, this one's not good. Why? It's not as bad as these two. These two are... This is the worst one by far, still. But Sigvald going to 10. Sigvald doesn't need to be buffed. Sigvald is one of those cards where if you cannot kill it, and by kill it, I mean banish it, because it can't take damage, you lose. So I don't think this is a card that should be buffed. And now it's back in Fukusha range. Don't think that's a good thing. It should be one of those high impact cards. So not like that. Sahil, this one's actually interesting. Sahil decks can be annoying to play against, but they definitely have a place in the game. They could be fun with Ivo and stuff. And they are built differently, which gives you a spot to a lot of bronze cards in situations that might otherwise be played. So I think Sahil getting buffed is a good thing. I'm just personally not that much in love with the card, so I'm going to stick it in good instead of top tier. But I'd like seeing Sahil get some love here. Although it does make the Thousand Fables transform a little bit different. Think about that. Torres going back to 14, getting buffed. No reason to do that, I don't think. But, yeah, whatever. Ulfadin. Good change. Golden Necker range for Skellige has so many options at this point. This is just another one. But I think this will actually maybe finally be playable. So much commitment in that statement. In non-Golden Necker in just Skellige because of the triple Tall Punish potential. I don't know. We'll try it out. Ulfadin's one of my favorite cards. It's really cool. Then last up we have Hammond. 7 for 7 now. Probably good. Yeah, I think this is good. Give Pirates some variety in their golds. The movement would actually help a lot of times in that deck against things that are roll-locked they can't take damage with. The bleeding's nice. I like seeing Hammond get some play. I think I said I wanted to see Hammond buffed get buffed before, so I like this. Overall, not the most exciting things for deck building testing. I'm excited to try out Master Mirror, Protector, and half of Hunter. Those are exciting. As far as the rest, nothing too incredibly inspiring. Probably try out Ilfidin and Filippo. Not sure about the rest. But yeah, that's the Balance Council, guys. That's what I think about it, at least. Let me know what you think, and we'll get into the season summary. So, faction distribution for this season. Again, as always, disclaimer, these are just my games. They don't represent the ladder. I've played most of these in the first half of the season, so people aren't high up on the ladder either. So, it is what it is. It's just mostly for fun, and then to look back on later. So, in my games, the most common faction we saw was Nilfgaard, followed by a pretty high percentage of Scoia'tael, which is weird. That's the Northern Realms, Monsters, Skellige, and Syndicate. Most popular decks in each faction for us, Monsters, we saw a lot of Devotion and Vampires, which is weird. And on these, by the way, these graphs, in case you haven't been here before, this is the amount, the number at the top is the difference between the average MMR of a game we played this season and the average MMR of this deck. So if our average MMR of a game was 2,500, that's what you see on average at 2,491, and this is like 2,405. So hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, Devotion Vampires, then we had some Ren-free Ogoroids, some regular Ogoroids. I just split these up because I have a thing that counts the neutral packages. If you want to just combine these into one Ogoroid deck, you could. I'd say that's the most popular. Wouldn't blame you. A couple Frost, but yeah, not too much there. For Nilfgaard, the big ones here are Soldiers and Clog. Shoop Soldiers also down here if you want to combine these into one. Again, for the neutral packages, I just keep them separate. And I do think Shoop Soldiers is different of enough deck. You'd want to keep it separate anyway because it performs better in my experience. A couple Enslave Assimilates, a couple Ren-free Hyperthins. Nothing too unusual here. Northern Realms' most popular one is Mutagenerator Double Roche, also the highest performing, no surprises there. We just got your normal couple Reavers, you always see those every season, a couple Golden Necker Witchers, a few Traveling Priestess decks, a couple Ancient Shield Walls, nothing too surprising. For Skellige, the most popular one was the Skellige Witchers, still always a very good deck. Then we saw a couple of Raid Warriors, Pirates, Ren-free Warriors, a couple Shoops, nothing out of the ordinary here, which is why we're kind of going through it pretty quickly. Scoia'tael, though, we want to talk about. Scoia'tael is usually not this popular, but the most popular decks we saw tied at the same performance and the same count were Trap Elves, so just Elves with the 4 traps. So Angus starts in your hand, and then Hyper Control Precision Strike. But the highest performing one MMR-wise in my experience that I saw from my opponents was Devotion Midrange with Shiru. It's just Shiru's still insane. So this is the highest MMR one we encountered, and then these are the other ones. A couple Shoop Harmonies. This deck I didn't expect to come out, and it just showed up. The thing with this deck is it just plays Ewire Quacks, and then does Shoop Harmonies, and then you count on the Quirixis, because Ewire Quacks pulls out Quirixis, which immediately triggers it, because it's a relic, and deploys go off, then it checks the board state, which means the Quirixis sees, from its perspective, the deploy of the Ewire Quacks, and then triggers itself to play Convergence. That's just how it works for deploys like that. And then this deck, you just Ewire Quacks the opponent. Sometimes you win the game off of it. Other than that, you're just playing a whole bunch of relics like Sarah, Johnny, those guys, and then shoot for value. A bit interesting. Syndicate, the big one here is going to be Lonely Champion Firesworn Scribe combo. So with the buff of Firesworn Scribe from 4 to 5, it became incredibly popular just to play that with Igor and Cyrus, and then just do Helvide, and boom, Philero up with guys, consume with Lonely Champion, next turn Philero up with guys, consume with Lonely Champion, for like 14 points a turn or something, and huge tempo swings. Became very, very popular, and I think from all of my opponents, it seemed like the best Syndicate deck this season. So that was a big surprise. Or was it? Because we said that card, I don't know if we wanted it to be buffed to 5 previously, but we'll see. It did make Firesworn playable. It's an interesting discussion. But yeah, this seemed to be the best Syndicate deck. Then we had some Salamander Poisons. I don't know why, just several Salamander Poison players decided to poison us. A bit weird. If it's the most popular overall, we've got this here. Again, you can see we didn't play that many games. It was like 100 and something. But Double Roche, Lonely Champion Firesworn most popular. Then Soldiers, Clog, Elves. You guys know how it is. You saw them already. As far as most popular leaders, Monsters was hitting in with Carapace on a bunch of different decks. Then some Blood Sense and a scattering of other things. Again, this is pretty normal, I think, although there's a lot more Devotion Vampires than I expected. Northern Realms, a lot of mobilization because of Mutagenerator, Double Roche. Did I say they got 4 engines in 2 turns? I'm at 5 because you duplicate one. Then some pincer maneuvers for the Traveling Priestess decks, a couple Shields Walls for the Golden Necker and the engines. A couple random other ones. No Royal Inspiration, no Uprising this season. Square most popular one was Precision Strike. Precision Strike is fairly flexible. It goes in several different decks, and it's pretty good, so people like to use that. That's a Deadeye Ambush, Guerrilla Tactics, mix of others. Harmony all being the Shoop Harmony this season. Skellige, most popular one was Reckless Flurry, then Patricidal Fury, Blaze of Glory. Like I said, we didn't play a single Rage of the Sea this season after the Masters of Sea nerf. No Battle Trance. I mean, we haven't seen a Battle Trance deck in like 4 months, to be honest, I don't think. So that could be a potential problem, but I mean, nerfing the Druids is what happens. Nothing else plays it. We've got some Onslaught, the One Sign Ritual. And yeah, Reckless Flurry is just very flexible. It goes in several different good decks. Patricidal Fury is for Raid Warriors, a couple other things, so this is usually how Skellige looks. Nilfgaard, though, was popular one being Tactical Decision. Again, not surprising, considering Renfrey loves that. And we saw a lot of different versions of Renfrey and Clog. They both use this. Then Imperial Formation for the Soldiers and Shoop Soldiers put together. That was very strong last season because of the Afan buff. It'd be even better season because of Slave Infantry, but we'll see. A couple other ones. No Imprisonments this season. Imprisonment's not too popular. Usually, if you're going to play Imprisonment, you could play Imposter, is basically what it comes down to. And it's like one more provision. Syndicate's popular one was Congregation, because of the deck we mentioned. Then a couple Jackpots for the Salamanders, and 1 Line Pockets, 1 Pirate's Cove, and 1 Bounty. Most popular ones here overall are Precision Strike, Tactical Decision, Carapace, Mobilization, and Formation. And then the other one's tapering off a bit. This does seem like what I remember. And then for least popular, here's the ones with 0 this season, in my experience. Hunger, Uprising, Inspiration, Rage of the Sea, Battle Trance, Imprisonment off the books, Hidden Cache. Firesworn kind of outshined these. And besides, Firesworn also has 18 provisions on the leader, so it's not hard, provision-wise, to fit in the cards needs to duplicate. And finally, let's look at the neutral packages. Looking at 12% Renfrey this season. Actually, it's 11. I can't read a graph. 11%, and 8% Golden Necker, 7% Shoop, 1% Bombs. Yeah, that's about right. A lot lower Renfrey this season. As far as devotion prevalence, still 77% non-devotion. Devotion keeps falling each season. I don't think it fell that much this time, but I think it did go down a little bit again. And then for everyone's favorite category here, we had 2 disconnectors, a Renfrey Vampire player and a Raid Warrior player, and 1 emote spammer, which is a Precision Strike Dwarf player. But yeah, that was our season and the Balance Council summary. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think about your season or what you're looking forward to the next one, and we'll see you next time.